I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your hosts, Amber,
Me?
and me, Sydney. Woohoo! The owners of Shield Maiden Trading Co. This is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to women in the LGBTQIA plus community.
Sure is.
Sure is. I'm excited for this month's topic. This episode and the following episode for next week, I'm really excited about. Mainly because we're going to do kind of like a shock Amber episode because she hasn't pre-read the next episode. But this is a good segue into the next episode. So,
I could tell you were excited. You rolled in here with a lot of energy.
I did. My bad. So, we're talking about aging and
Mhm.
women and fitness. You know, all the
Yep.
things that's one happening to us.
Our current life experiences.
Our current life experiences. All the things that are happening to us. So this episode
Hmm.
I have titled How to Grow Old Without Feeling Old.
Yes, please tell us how to do that.
I know this is something you really want me to help you with, Amber. So, all right, we're going to kick it off by saying aging is a natural process that is gradual but continuous and isn't until middle age that many of us notice a decline in bodily kind of like functions and in
Mhm.
our normal kind of like standard operating procedure. Like we are a high functioning tech machine until about middle aged. And then
Right.
it's the battery life goes down, operating systems start to like get a little kinked. You gotta kind of reboot it more frequently.
Yes, yes.
Um what I love about this is that it there's a general time frame which all of us can kind of recognize that this is happening, and we've made a joke out of it. So, like, there are a bunch of comedians and, like, their skits and references to this decline in entertainment and media and comedy, and I think one of the things that I really like this comedian because he put it out there and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I get that. I, like, understand that." It's very yes. So, I also just love John Mulaney.
I
If
mean,
anybody
yes.
has noticed, go back and watch, like, last fall around this time when we did, our, like, long sleeve shirts.
Oh, yes.
It is from the same Netflix special.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate him calling this out in his Kid Gorgeous Netflix special. He does, like, a whole bit on aging, and one of my favorite things is he says, "I'm gross. I have hair on my shoulders now. I don't even have a joke for that. That's how much I hate this shit." Or
Fair.
his other line is, "I'm like an iPhone. It's going to be worse versions of this every year, plus I get super hot in the middle of the afternoon for no reason."
I remember that. That was funny.
And I was
And true.
like, it's true, right? Like, we can all kind of be like, "Oh, it's funny because it does naturally just happen to all of us." There
Yeah.
is no, like, stopping the aging process.
Yeah. It's true.
It's true,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Like,
Or not so
I
unfortunately.
mean, yes. It's a part of life. It's fine. Uh, so people don't become old or elderly at any specific age. It just kind of happens. Um, But many years ago, the age of 65 was chosen as the age for retirement in Germany. You really love Germany. It's in all of our episodes. I don't know how you always tie things back to Germany.
Not
I don't understand.
intentional. I just
So, okay. So, Germany was the first nation to establish a retirement program. Good for them. In 1965, the United States, in 1965, in the United States, the age of 65 was designated as the eligibility age for Medicare insurance.
yeah, so essentially we arbitrarily chose
We
that
just
age.
chose 65.
Yeah, and
Like, you are old and elderly now. Good luck.
yeah, I think a part of it was probably a little bit of just, like, looking at the general public and being like, "When is the, like, most significant decline happening? Okay, this seems to be, like, relative for most people around this age." But
Mhm.
really, it feels kind of, like, arbitrary
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Okay, so detour. I was listening to Maintenance Phase,
Okay, yeah.
And I was listening to their episode on BMI, which is a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
We should do an episode on that. But they were talking about how, and I don't remember the exact science or the names or anything because my memory sucks because I'm old. Um, but there's no science behind how they determined what weight is overweight or
Yeah.
obese. They were
No.
just like, here's a bell curve.
Mhm.
This percentile of people are in this weight category, so they're overweight.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Wait, what? I was shooketh.
It's like when I told you when we did the episode and we were talking about like, oh yeah, just all studies are performed on men.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously everything was performed on
Yeah,
white
and
men.
it's just like one of those things where you're like, you don't really think about it until somebody pulls that a little bit of information out and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How that can't be real.
So this, I mean, this feels like that. They were
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
there's a decline in the bell curve at this age,
That's
the
where
number of people, so we're just gonna come off.
yeah.
So silly. I don't understand.
So what we'd like to talk about is for at least the first segment of this is when a person becomes old can be answered in a lot of different ways. And so chronological age is probably the one that we think of most often and is
Makes
based
sense.
solely on the passage of time. So, yeah, it's a person's age in years. Chronological age has limited significance in terms of health.
Right.
So, the likelihood of developing a health problem increases as people age,
Mhm.
and it is health problems rather than normal aging that are the primary cause of functional loss during old age.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when people are like, "Oh, as I get old, I get sick and elderly," it's actually flip it. And as you develop health problems, your body can, as you're aging, can no longer kind of like sustain. And so then they have a larger impact on you. And then you start to like feel
Feel,
older.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so chronological age helps predict many health problems.
Mhm.
And it has some legal and like financial uses, but really it's yeah, it's just the time passing in years,
Yeah.
which is again kind of
Not a good
arbitrary.
indicator.
Like,
Like BMI.
yeah, time is a social construct. So there's that.
So there's also biological age, which refers to the changes in the body that commonly occur as people age. Because these changes affect some people sooner than others, some people are biologically old at 65 and others not until a decade or more later. However, most of the noticeable differences in apparent age among people of similar chronologic age are actually caused by lifestyle, habit, and subtle effects of disease rather than by differences in actual aging.
Yeah. So like you and I are similar in age.
Yes, I would say so.
Yes. I mean 4 months apart, really. Like we are the
Yes.
same age. Um and
You're gonna call
we
me out now, aren't you?
no.
This is
But
gonna be
no,
rude.
no, but the funny thing is we have some of the same issues around like body weight, all of these things, but we
Yeah.
were also raised in very similar households.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think about, like, early childhood up until, like, early, adult, we were probably eating similar foods. We had parents who smoked, like,
Mhm.
rural areas,
Yeah.
like, so you and I struggle similarly with where we carry weight, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just interesting because, like, when I was researching, I was like, "Oh, that's such a interesting way to, like, think about it of, like, oh, yeah, there are friends of mine, of course, they we have commonality in that way,
Right.
but we were also raised in very similar environments."
Yeah, that makes sense. That's
A
interesting.
and some people diverged because they went off and they had, like, different and you're
Mhm.
like, "Huh, interesting." And we also have very similar lifestyle habits now still. So,
Yeah.
like, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
that's
it's
true.
fascinating.
That's
I'd love to
fascinating.
dive down into that, but, they've never studied women, so
Right, so who knows?
who knows? Okay, this one is cool. So there's also your psychological age,
Mm,
which is based on how people act and feel. And we
mhm.
can most notably you see this as, that very older generation,
Yeah.
the people who kind of stay in motion, are active, like they tend to be appear younger.
Mhm.
um, so, for example, an 80-year-old who works, plans, looks forward to future events, and participates in activities is probably considered psychologically younger. And also, I think that translates into physicality because there
Yeah.
are definitely some, you know, 80, 90-year-olds that I'm like, you're you move well, and they're like, "Yeah, I just, I keep gardening, I go
Yeah.
to all my family things." And then you see some people who are 65 and 70 who are kinda homebound, and, like, the decline happens way more rapidly.
Yeah.
So,
Makes
just
sense.
yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Mental health, it's an important thing.
It is, yeah, I think in this one, it's, like, kinda like, how much does your mind play as you age
Yeah.
into how healthy and young you feel?
Yeah. I could see that. And like, if you're, I don't want to say accepting how old you are, but like, that mindset of like, well, I'm old, I can't do anything anymore. So
Yeah,
I'll just sit here.
yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I fall into that sometimes too. I'm like, man, I should go out and do something. And then I'm like, I'm old. I can just sit at home.
And so we're going to help you feel less old.
Are you?
Yeah, we are.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna we're gonna yeah. We're gonna work on it, Amber.
It's fine. Okay. So changes in our strength and stamina are all associated with the decrease in muscle mass. I feel like we talked about muscle mass
We did.
when
Yeah. We
they're all
talked it
blurring together.
yeah, we talked about it. It was either last week or
Oh,
the week
was it
before.
rest and recovery? It was last week. I don't know. I haven't edited last week's episode yet.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think it
remember.
was. I think we talked about it last week when we were talking about just like the impacts of
Mm.
aging.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Muscle mass.
So
Okay.
like this ties in because like you're naturally there are going to be some impacts of aging, but
Right.
you can kind of combat those.
I bet you're going to tell us how.
Yeah.
Yeah. So between the ages of 20 and 40, there is not that much decline in muscle mass. Awesome. But after the age of 40, the decline can be 1 to 2% per year in lean body mass and 1.5 to 5%. Oh, that's a big jump per year in strength.
Yeah,
Rude.
so this is what a lot of like fitness professionals talk about, like why it's so important as you age, especially once you ba- get over that kind of 40-year hump of like, you should be strength training because your body is working against you,
So rude.
right?
You've kept it alive this long.
I know.
Now it's just going to turn on you?
I know. Evil body. Evil.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. So while all of this may make it seem like aging will impact our daily living activities and require us all to become less physically active, the truth, as we've been talking about, is as we age, it becomes more important to exercise regularly, perhaps even increasing the amount of time we spend exercising to compensate, to compensate for all the changes in hormones.
So
So
when I said we were going to work with you, Amber, here it is.
I hate being your guinea pig project for these episodes.
Just saying.
Okay, so exercise is a vital aspect to keeping us feeling young. Our bodies need to move and be used to their full range and ability every day. Like, this is why we started Shield Maiden.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So as we age, obviously, it's essential for our overall well being and quality of life to exercise regularly. Yes, I know. Incorporating a mix of exercises like walking, swimming, cycling, strength training into our routines. We want to try and aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity. So, like 50 to 70% of max heart rate, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity per week, uh, which I am assuming means closer to what, 80-90% of max
Yeah, probably more like 80-90% of max. You don't
for that
necessarily
vigorous.
yeah, it doesn't need to be like every day you need to be doing that, but you want to be trying to accumulate those kind of minute marks of
Mhm.
like, okay, if I'm doing two really intense like cardio or hit style workouts or CrossFit, I want to be kind of aiming for that 75. Yeah. Because that 80 to 90 is pretty hard to sustain.
Yeah,
So it's going to come in short bursts throughout the week.
gotcha. Okay. Um, as Sid said earlier, we should also be including strength training 2 times, um, twice a week or more.
Yeah. Yep. Because some people will find that they can no longer sustain like kind of doing back to back. So they might be able to do like a Tuesday, Thursday, or they'll do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday with some
Mm.
more rest in between. But there should definitely be strength training, specific strength training going on
Mhm.
where you're focusing on those things. And what's really important with strength training is it doesn't always have to be moving weights. Moving your body weight can count as strength training. And if you go back and listen to, you know, I think it was last week's episode where we talk about just kind of like that your gravity pulling for like bone density health,
Mm,
that this also falls into that. So like making sure you're doing push-ups, sit-ups, squats,
right.
lunges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of maintaining bone density, uh, it's definitely crucial as you're aging. Your doctor may suggest a calcium supplement or include calcium-rich foods like dark leafy greens, spinach is high in calcium. Vitamin D is also important to maintain bone density.
Yep.
So last week we talked about weight-bearing exercises and strength training, and how that can help promote bone health. If you don't remember, go back and listen. And also staying hydrated is really important.
Yes. Actually, I was doing some research and hydration factors into bone density quite a bit. Um, and I won't get into all the science. Maybe we can go into it later. But it was kind of it was really fun to read about and like learn about of like, oh, it is important to stay hydrated for so many reasons. Because I definitely don't remember having like being this focused on hydration as a kid.
No,
And I don't think my parents were like nobody was like,
like
make sure you have enough water each day. They're just like, whatever, drink out of the hose.
I mean, there was usually water available, but on like longer car rides, I don't remember having
Yeah, no.
my water bottle with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then, of course, my favorite, incorporating flexibility and balance is really important. Um, strength training, sorry, let me try that again. Stretching exercises and balance training reduce the risk of falls and injuries. And I think in my learnings with yoga and stuff, and actually previously as well, balance is so important and it really declines as we age, which is such a weird symptom of aging.
Yeah, it really is. It's such a
Like
weird
our
symptom.
like equilibrium, being able to invert ourselves, being able to even swing, like those kinds of things, if we don't keep up and doing them, like we lose the ability to do them,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
so weird.
So what it's like what I think with like flexibility and balance is like there's a reason kids are so like pliable but also so balanced and they're using that all the time.
Mhm.
Like they're hanging upside down for monkey bars.
Yeah.
We're just like one is because we are learning how to assess risk doing those things. And
Mhm.
as we age, we stop doing them because we associate higher risk with
Yes.
those things. But then it plays into you don't have enough balance and then you
And,
fall down and break a hip.
and we know how much it costs to go to the hospital
Yeah.
if you hurt yourself doing these things.
Yeah. But this is a great segue
Yeah.
because one of my favorite uh, like poems, it's actually from a book and it's I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but maybe you all have, is All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. And he's one of my favorites, as I said. And I think it sums up the end of this episode and just everything in general about aging. Um, you you gotta kind of think like a kid.
Okay.
Like you have to keep a sense of youthfulness.
Fair.
in the things that you do, in the exercise that you do, and how you kind of approach the world, like making sure that, you're playing in the dirt and doing like those kinds of things. So here's the poem.
Okay.
All I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of a graduate school mountain, but there in the sand pile at Sunday school. These are the things that I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush.
Mm.
Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you.
Mm.
Live a balanced life. Learn something and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day. Some.
Mm. Okay.
Take a nap every afternoon. I love that one.
You like that one, yes.
When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands and stick together.
Mm.
Wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup? The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why, but we're all a little bit like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice, and even the little seed in the styrofoam cup, they all die. So do we. And then and then remember the Dick and Jane books and the first words you learned, the biggest word of all. Look. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology and politics, and equality and sane living. Take any one of those items and extrapolate it into a sophisticated adult term and apply it to your family life or work or your government or your world, and it holds true and clear and firm. Which I think it does.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. I love that.
yeah. Think what a better world it would be if the whole world, had cookies and milk at about 3 o'clock every afternoon and lay down with our blankies for a nap.
Right? Oh my God, I love it.
Right? Like, so great. Or if all governments had a basic policy to always put things back where they found them and clean up their own messes.
Right? Right?
And it is true, no matter how old you are, when you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands and stick together.
That's why I keep following you around.
Right? I think that it's so great. Like, if you just remember this, it's like, okay, I got to do the work.
Mhm.
I got to play. I got to be a good person. And
Yeah.
I
That's fun.
love it. And so I think that's how to grow old without feeling old.
I love it. Yeah. I don't know that I've heard or read the exact poem or reading or whatever that is. But obviously, like, have heard of the like everything you need to know you learned in kindergarten. Like that's
Yeah.
what kindergarten is for.
Exactly. And just
Is
like
learning these things.
is learning these things. And sometimes as you get older, you want to like forget and be like, I know more about the world. And like, it's like,
You
no,
don't.
keep it simple, stupid. Like, you learned it in kindergarten. Just do these things.
Right?
Yeah.
So easy. Okay, well, that's a wrap for this week.
Yeah. I think we unlocked
The secret to aging.
the secret to aging. Everybody is trying to bottle the secret to aging, and we just unlocked it in a reading and just like,
For
you know,
free. We've
yeah.
given it to you for free.
We've given it to you for free. Don't go spend money on wrinkle creams and all that. We've given it to you for free.
Although if you don't want it for free, message us and I'll give you our Venmo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll be back next week to continue talking about aging. Apparently, it is going to be a surprise episode for me. I've not read ahead of this, so we're gonna see. How
I'm
this
so
goes.
excited.
Sid had some thoughts about how this was going to go for me. So keep listening on your favorite podcast platform. I assume that's what you're listening on right now, since you are here listening to us. But continue to listen and tell others and comment, message, like, follow, all the things. You know what to do.